morning, fourth graders. This is Miss Ferguson, and this is your weekly video for the week of June 8th to June 12th. Our strategy this week that we're going to be working with is analyzing characters. Authors don't necessarily come right out and tell us what a character's traits are, so it's our job as the reader to infer their traits based on their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, and their dialogue. And we're going to talk more about each of those things. Remember that when we are inferring or making an inference, it's basically an educated guess. We're using the things that we are given to make an educated guess about that character. So let's talk about how characters develop and grow in stories, because you'll be practicing this skill with two of the texts you'll be reading this week. So what is character development? Character development means it's how the character in the story has developed or changed over the course of the story. And those changes occur because of the events that happen in the story. We've had lessons before where we said that characters drive the plot. What the characters do drives what happens in the story. And similarly, the actions of the story change the character. Characterization is how the author reveals to us information about the characters. Direct characterization is when the author comes right out and tells us, the reader, about the character. For example, Charlie was a sneaky, greedy young man. In that case, the author came right out and told us directly what those characters' traits were. There's also indirect characterization. This is where we, as the reader, find out about the character through their speech, so their dialogue, their thoughts, their actions, and very importantly, their relationships with other characters. For example, Charlie snuck up behind the man on the bus and quickly stole his wallet. Success, he thought to himself. Now, if I read that in a story, even if the author's not telling me what kind of person Charlie is directly, I would know that he's probably sneaky and greedy and not such a great character based on the fact that he just stole someone's wallet and he considered that a success. So I was able to infer that about Charlie based on what the author wrote to me. So how do you infer character traits? Think about, what does the character say? We're going to use the acronym STAR, S-T-A-R. The S is for say. What does the character say? What is in their dialogue in the story? T, their thoughts. What is the character thinking? A for actions. What does the character do? How does he or she react to others and things that happen around them? And the R, relationships. What do other characters say about him or her? So try to keep that in mind, that STAR, when you're trying to infer character traits as you read your texts this week. There are many different character traits that could be used to describe characters. Remember that it's important to distinguish that character traits are not their physical traits. We're not talking about how they look. We're talking about traits that describe their personality. So we wouldn't say character trait is tall because that is a physical trait. But we might say that someone is active, loving, dishonest, stubborn. This is a really good resource if you're having trouble thinking of different character trait words. Sometimes it's easy for us to use a bank of words like this and apply the most accurate and descriptive trait based on the evidence in the text that we're reading. So do not be afraid to come back and resource this slide as you're reading, because you can use this word bank to help you find the most accurate trait for the characters in your texts. In a story, characters learn and grow from the events that they experience. Growth or change in a person can be determined by thinking about what does the character learn in this story? How does the character change throughout the story? Does the character become a better person or does the character become worse? So as you're reading, and I always say reading is thinking, you should be thinking about that character. What is it that they're faced with? What challenge are they trying to handle? What do they learn from it? And do they change? And is it for the better or does it happen to be a change for the worst? We can think about a character's growth or their change or their development using those character traits. So think about at the beginning of the story, what was that character like? Then, what were they like at the end of the story? And then, even more importantly, once we've figured out what type of character trait describes who they were at the beginning and who they were at the end, we need to think about what caused that character to change. What happened in the story? What relationships did they have that helped develop them and change them as a character? Whether it was a good change or a bad change. Let's take a look at this short passage about Nick. And I want you to think about how Nick changes in this story and why Nick changes. So think about what happened that would change Nick as a character. While playing in the backyard one afternoon, Nick noticed his little brother was playing with his favorite baseball glove. "Hey, Jeff, put that down. I didn't say you could use my glove," yelled Nick. "But mine is too small for me now," Jeff answered. "I don't care. Give it here," replied Nick as he snatched the glove off Jeff's hand. He then began stomping back to the house with the glove cradled in his arm. Before he reached the door, though, he heard the sound of sobs coming from behind him. He turned to see Jeff crying in the very spot he had left him. Nick paused a minute. I really hurt his feelings, Nick thought. He turned around and headed back for his little brother. "Hey, Jeff, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you," Nick said softly as he handed the glove back to his brother. "You can use my glove. Just please ask first next time. Okay, buddy?" "Okay," beamed Jeff as the smile quickly spread across his tear-streaked face. "I will. Thanks." So, how did Nick change in this story and what caused that change? Well, if we think about STAR, our acronym for character traits, so what they say, their thoughts, their actions, and their relationships, let's think about how Nick was at the beginning of the story. He noticed that his little brother was playing with his glove, and he told him to put it down. He told him he didn't tell him that he could use his glove. And when his brother said, "But hey, mine's too small," Nick said, "I don't care," and he took the glove back. His actions, well, when he noticed his brother was playing with that favorite glove, he snatched it back and he stomped back into the house. So we know what he said. You'll notice it's highlighted here in red. We know what he did. Now, what do those things, those actions and those words tell you about Jeff at the beginning of the story? We know that he said to put the glove down. I didn't say you could use it. He said he didn't care. He stomped away after he took a baseball glove away. Using those pieces of information, we could infer that Nick is angry. He's mad at his little brother. He's mad that Jeff used his glove without asking. So he yells at Jeff and he takes the glove away. Then he stomps back to the house with the glove. He's being selfish and he doesn't want to share his baseball glove. So that's how he was like at the beginning of the story. But is that what he was like at the end of the story? No. Let's talk more about that. Think about that STAR. What did he say? He apologized to his brother. He said he didn't mean to upset him. And he told him, "Next time you can use my glove, just please ask first." And his action was he handed his glove back to his brother and let him use it. So he was angry that his brother used his glove. He yelled at him, he took it away, he stomped back to the house. At the beginning of the story, he was being quite selfish. But at the end of the story, he realized he upset his brother. He gave the glove back. He said he was sorry. So he showed that he, at the end of the story, was thoughtful and wanted to share his glove. So, what caused him to change? What created the change of him going from a selfish person to a thoughtful, caring brother? Again, think about that STAR. What would have made him change? Well, he heard the sounds of sobs coming from behind him, and he turned and he saw that the sobs were his brother crying. He thought to himself, oh, I really hurt my brother's feelings. And he decided to turn around and go back to his brother. So even though he started off as a more selfish person that didn't want to share, he became thoughtful. And that cause of his character change was that he realized he hurt his brother's feelings and he felt bad about making him cry because he cares about his brother. So, girls, this week when you are working on this skill in your independent daily practice, you're going to be reading two different texts and you're going to be thinking about the characters as you read. Of course, this video is there for you to reference every day. I would suggest watching it at least 2 or 3 times and definitely go back and reference the bank of character traits or the acronym STAR to keep that fresh in your brain and help you as you're reading each text. You're going to start by reading the hero Maui, and today you're going to choose a myth from the hero Maui and describe the character's words, thoughts, and actions, and explain how they affect other characters. And each day you'll have a different prompt that relates to character analysis. So this lesson is going to help you with that. Have a great day, girls, and a great week. Remember that I am always here as a resource. This video lesson is here as a resource. And you are doing a great job. Keep up the great work at home, and I will talk to you soon.